Going on the road for the first time is always different. The guys did want to dedicate this game to our soldiers overseas that are fighting the war against terrorism. And there's a group that Nate Boyer's a part of that was founded by Alan Dukar called Caring for Camos. And they actually get a box of goodies that they would like and send it to a soldier and write a letter to the soldier. And they don't know who the soldier is, but they do feel like that a care package from a University of Texas football player would be something the guys would enjoy. In studying Brigham Young so much since the first of the week, you're so impressed with their defense. They just play so hard. They're very well coached. They got 100% effort. They've got 3 or 4 senior pro prospects that are on that defense. And I think Kyle Van Noy is as good a player as there is in the country. The guy is one of those guys, when you start watching film, video, you have to know where he is on every play. And you have to have a plan for him because he's that good. He was all over the Virginia quarterback throughout the game, but these guys are very, very impressive. As far as their offense, the conditions were not good for offense in Charlottesville. I'm sure the Brigham Young team is so disappointed because they have a chance to have a great team, it looks like. But there was a snap over the quarterback's head for a safety. There was a block punt that ended up down close to the goal line, and an interception that went right through the tailback's hands in the heavy rain that they brought back, and that led to 16 of the 19 points. So I know these guys are excited about playing on Saturday and disappointed in their first outing because they have a chance to be really, really good. On a sad note, this morning we got a call from West Virginia that Curtis Jones, who was a very, very popular academic counselor for us for a number of years, that left a year and a half to go to run the program at West Virginia, died last night. And our players are very disturbed about that because he was very, very popular with our players. His brother Corby was a quarterback at Missouri, and his dad died of a heart attack while he was coaching at Missouri. So our thoughts and prayers are with Curtis's family because that's 40 years old and just a devastating call this morning for us. Questions?
Is the hay in the barn with the elevation training, or this week did you do anything more different?
The only thing we've done this week is have our nutritionist and our trainer constantly talk about hydration, because that's so key for any game, but especially one like this, and try to get you sleep, get in bed. So we've had a tight curfew all week, and we practiced really hard yesterday, and it was hot and really spent the guys. So we'll need to have a good practice today, but that's the biggest part. Fluids, watch what you eat, and make sure that you get your sleep.
Coach, what makes Provo so tough to coach in? They're playing. Have you coached there before at any time?
I've only been there one time as a coach, and it was back in the 70s with Southern Miss, and we did not play well. It was one of LaVelle's better teams, and I just think it's a unique place where you look at Broncos' record at home. He's won 88.9, I think, % of the game. So they play really well at home.
Local crowd?
Yes, very great atmosphere. We think it'll be very much like the Ole Miss crowd last year's, full house, and that's what we usually get when we go on the road. And people are excited about Texas coming to town. I think they've been talking about this for 2 years.
Mack, what do you think from Kendall Sanders in practice and what his availability?
I think he'll be ready to go. Again, we've got practice today and tomorrow, and then we feel like because of the altitude and the long flight, it's about 2-hour and 40-minute flight, we'll work out some out there Friday when we get there. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't, but for a night game, we probably will. But we thought he looked good yesterday and expect him to play.
Does he lose conditioning that fast?
No. No, those kids are in such great shape. In fact, they probably have fresher legs, Kirk, if you really think about it. When you look at a guy he takes a week to 10 days off, he's more ready to come back. And Josh Turner did practice some last week, but he's practiced full speed this week and should play as well.
How did you think your conditioning held up with the up-tempo offense? When was your first chance to really do it on your heels?
I thought the conditioning held up really well, but it was hard to tell because we played so many people. The challenge we gave our team is New Mexico State's not as talented as we are or Brigham Young. So you guys that went in and played well to help with the depth against New Mexico State, how are you going to fare when you're playing against a better player at Brigham Young? So we'll know more Saturday night about our ability to play with depth than we do right now, and I thought that was such a key. They had the ball 47 plays the first half. If we could not have substituted last week, we would have been tired at halftime. And that's where a lot of the teams get in trouble and get beat in some of those early games. If they had the ball 47 plays in 21 minutes to our 9 minutes, that could have been devastating for a team that's worn out at halftime and then having trouble tackling in the second half. And we were really fresh at halftime.
You think you'll substitute liberally with this thin air, or is it just going to be by feel?
No, we're still going to do it the same way we did it last week. And that's what we've told our kids. We're going to substitute. We're going to put them out there. The other thing that Cedric makes it tougher, they are running tempo faster than we are. They had 97 plays last week, and we've watched the TV copy because it's hard to tell on the video copy, but they're snapping the ball 10 to 15 seconds every time, regardless, and they're not substituting at all. So the bunch that you put out there with a drive is probably going to have to stay unless you use one of your timeouts. So it's going to be key that we could have some and in fact, we said we're not calling anybody backups anymore. If you're going to play, you got to play, and you got to play good.
And they did that in that weather.
They did it in the weather. 97 plays in that weather, which is just amazing that they could get that many. And Virginia didn't have near that many, and they dominated time of possession as well. And I mean, they're just snapping it. It is unbelievable how fast they're going, and that should help us for next week with Ole Miss and help us for our league, because that's what's happening in this league. But that's not who they were 2 years ago offensively when they came in here.
How many players can you take on the road?
You can take as many as you want to a game like this. We'll be in the 70s. For a conference game, you can only take 70. But you have unlimited numbers for non-conference games or home games.
Mack, you were drawn into that Florida State thing. What are your thoughts on he's saying y'all didn't contact Wilson? Did y'all? Or?
Yeah, I answered it yesterday. So I'm worried about Brigham Young. In fact, I answered it 8 times yesterday, I think. So.
We didn't get you yesterday.
Yeah, well, pick up a paper somewhere else. Pick up any news outlet. What you do is you worry about what's important around here, and what's important is beating Brigham Young. The rest of that stuff, I ain't got time for.
When kids say stuff like that, though, how hard is it not to get in a back and forth, and you have to explain yourself, and when kids kind of say stuff like that?
You got social media for 16, 17-year-olds, and you got people trying to bait them to get them to say things. So you all live in that world. I don't worry about that. He seems to be a great young man that played great the other night. And what the talk should be is about how great he played and what kind of future he's got instead of who didn't recruit him. Are we beating up everybody else that didn't get him? Or just us? And we didn't have contact with him until Brian Harsin got here in January. And it was one phone call, and I was told by people there. So, Kirk, I ended up answering it for you again. I was told by people very close to the situation that you've got no chance. He may go number 1 in baseball, and if not, he's going to Florida State because he's been committed to them since summer. And if not, Alabama might slip in late, but you're out. So, and I trusted my source. I know how you all trust your sources. Level 1. It was a level 1 source.
About that, because for a long time, your response when guys asked you about other players who may have gotten away was you have to worry about the guys you have, not the guys that you don't.
Still my response. I've said that about 8 times since yesterday as well.
At the same time, I'm seeing you go out on some national shows and talk about this. Is there something that's changed in the landscape, either with this program or with the national exposure for a kid like that you feel like you need to go out and talk a little bit more about this kid who's not here?
Well, the good thing is that it shows that a whole lot of kids are interested in Texas. We get calls all the time. You have to figure out who's wanting to visit and who might want to come. Secondly, my job is to keep distractions away from our team and get the focus back on Brigham Young. So if there's people talking inaccurately about things that happened in this situation, I think it's better to go public in a 2-minute interview and say what happened and move on. And that's what I did. A lot more talk out there than there used to be. It must have been a slow media day yesterday. So when John he and Bill are my barometer on whether I should say something or not, and I'm working on Brigham Young. They came in and said they're still talking about this. You want to answer it? And I said, sure. Give me somewhere to answer it, and I'll answer it. And that's what we do, and moved on.
Did you recruit the BYU quarterback?
Yes. Yes.
Back to your quarterback for a minute. Mike Davis said yesterday that he feels like Ash is an elite quarterback How important is it just that his teammates believe that he's an elite quarterback?
Well, it's very important. This is the first time it's really been his team. Last year, a week ago, we were trying to decide who to start at quarterback. So I think that's what we should be talking about is how well Winston played at Florida State and how well David Ash played at our place. Because our quarterback situation in the future looks really, really good. We're very excited about it. But David's won 11 out of his last 14 games, and the only question about David, the two questions that have been in people's mind is, can he run, and does he run enough? He answered that the other night. And the second question has been, can he overcome adversity early in a game? Because he's had some games where he didn't do that. And I thought he answered both of those on Saturday night and did really well. And he's playing he'll play a defense that'll play as good as we'll play Saturday night. So this will be fun to watch him.
Major mentioned yesterday or Monday that he said Greg Robinson's role is kind of an advanced scout type role. How has that whole dynamic worked?
It's working well. He watches video at home, and then he gives us ideas. He tells us what he thinks about the team that we're playing, the upcoming game, and then he also gives us ideas of what he thinks. Greg was an offensive coordinator for Terry Donahue at UCLA and a defensive coordinator in college and in the NFL, plus a head coach. So he's got vast knowledge, and we're really, really lucky to have him working with us. And the coaches aren't resenting him at all. That's another dynamic you have to be aware of. And our coaches want to win, and what I've told them, the more eyes we can get on our program, the better. So Greg's a smart football coach, and if he can give us ideas, share ideas with us and share thoughts with us, what a great advantage for us.
Is he coming to Provo?
No, he just comes for the home games and would stay here on a Sunday or a Monday afterwards for scouting reports.
Coach, we talked a lot about the changes you've made staff-wise, obviously your scheme too. You said you worked harder than you've ever worked these last 3 years. What about your mentality, the way you are on the field at practice? Have you changed from maybe what we saw in 08, 09 to where you are now mentality-wise?
I don't think you change that much. I think sometimes the perceptions aren't reality because you guys don't see what I do or know what I do really. You have opinions and I got opinions of what you all do. You know, it's just the way it is, and I'm probably not right either. But I do think the fact that I feel better, I've lost more weight, it's probably got more energy, and I didn't realize that till I did. So I'm really having fun right now and excited about coaching this team. But I think I've always had input and been aggressive with them. Just I'm not one that has to do it on camera.
Is Stanton only comparable to you?
We've talked about that all week. I don't think so because he's 6'3" or 4". He's 245. He can run like a deer. He's very aggressive. He's a guy that's so hard to block because he can slip block so easy. And if you start trying to move your feet to be able to have a good enough base to block him, he'll slip you. But then if you get soft trying to make sure you catch him, he can run right over you. I just think he's a great player. I don't think he's a good player. I think he's a no question #1 draft pick in the country.
Mack, you mentioned distractions earlier in a weird way. Is this a season had fewer distractions than you can remember? I mean, this is the first controversy that you've dealt with in months, and it's been quarterback for another team.
Yeah, I didn't call that a controversy. I called it a conversation for about 3 minutes. But I think around here you have one about every 3 days, and they last about 2 days, and you just ignore them and go on.
There have been fewer this year? There haven't been many distractions from this team?
I hadn't really thought about it, but it's an older team, and they're getting along well, and they've acted well, and I've said their grades are better, and usually that's an indicator that you don't have as much trouble off the field when it's an older bunch that's acting right. And we really challenged them in the offseason to discipline from within. We're not around you guys all the time, so you guys straighten them up, and you make sure the guys are acting right. And if one's not acting right and you don't want to handle it, come bring it to us and we'll handle it. But I think this team's doing a good job of that.
Mack, with Patrick Suttis just in his first season, has his role changed at all, or I guess how are things going recruiting-wise now that you're in season?
No, it's going really well. Patrick's helped us so much, and I think his role gets even more important during the season because just like Saturday night, 2:01 Sunday morning was the first time we could reach out to juniors, and he and I are all over it until about 3 in the morning with me tweeting all those kids. So that's stuff that probably we wouldn't have done as readily in the past. But he's really good at what he does, and I'm glad he's here. He's helped our recruiting a lot.
How many kids ballpark did you reach out to, you think?
I don't know. There's a whole list of them. So I'd have to go back and get the exact number. I don't want to guess, but there's a whole bunch. Is the 2015 kids that we're recruiting. So I got a list of a Twitter list now for 2014s, a Twitter list for 2015s. I'm all over social media.
Coach, I know LaVelle's not coaching anymore, but where would you rank him in the all-time coaches that you've encountered in college football?
LaVelle's one of the best ever. One of the joys for this weekend is Spike Dykes is going with us because he and LaVelle are such good friends. They're two of the great coaches in the country. If I know LaVelle's in the Hall of Fame, and to me Spike Dykes should be in the Hall of Fame, regardless of how many games he's won. He meant that much to college football, and it's one of the exciting things about going out there and playing in LaVelle Edwards Stadium, because I just have so much respect for him and all he did. And he was one of the older guys that I looked up to from a very early age, and he's taken care of me for years.
Mack, have you talked to the guys, or will you talk to them about starting quicker or ensuring that, well, if you do start slow, maybe like you did last weekend, the result might not be what you want, given that you're playing some better teams?
Yeah, let me answer, because I've been asked that a few times this week too. Number one, our defense started fast. So we didn't start slow. We started slow on offense, and we really played at a fast pace. We turned the ball over. So I would say it wasn't a poor start. I would say it was poor ball security with 3 turnovers, because everything we tried to do was good. We were moving the ball except for the turnovers, because we scored so fast. We were either scoring or turning it over. And so they tried, and they had the fast start, protect the ball better. And then the other thing I would say is we're going to tell ours to start fast, and we have a fast start period every day in practice to emphasize that. Old Bronco's going to tell his to start fast too, so somebody's not going to start as fast as the other bunch. Something has to give, and that's one of the great things about sports. So they used to beat us up at North Carolina about not starting fast, and we'd win the game 56-7, and I said, I'll take that every time. I'd rather finish fast. But the games are hard to start fast when it's a really good defense and they're coming after you. And their offense is going to be juiced because they didn't score the points they wanted to last week, and they had the turnovers that led to points. So we're going to run into a very spirited team out there, and ours is going to be spirited too. So I think it sets up for a great game.
You talked about stressing the ball security thing more than the fast start, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, what we did is we showed them we were moving the ball when we had it. We just dropped it or threw it to them. So let's make sure that we probably would have scored on all 3 of those drives that we turned it over. And if you do that, the score is probably 35-0 at halftime, or 35-7 instead of 14-7. So we constantly talk about ball security, but it's hard to simulate game speed and game reaction. So sometimes they get it out here again, and Mike had it out there. We got to take it in. And I thought one of the great things for David, the ball that he threw for the interception, he came back and hit John Harris on exactly the same pass where he ripped it to him instead of laid it to him against a 2-deep rolled up corner. So he learned quickly and didn't make the same mistake twice.
There'll be more of a specific effort to get Jonathan the ball, because I'm sure he didn't get it as much as maybe everyone thought the other night.
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be the same, just kind of take what comes along?
No, I might have said this the other day, but one of the things I asked Major and Manny what they wanted to get accomplished in the opener, other than the obvious things that we know, and both of them basically said get some identity. I want to see the things we're stressing. I want to see us be 100% to the ball. I want to see us tackle better on defense, and I want to see us strip the ball or get some interceptions. Majors was interesting in that he said, I want us to do well enough with this offense that these guys buy in. Kids are hard to get them to buy in, and we've really sold them all of this stuff. They haven't seen it against anybody else yet, because it's really not what we did at all in the bowl game in the fourth quarter. We had a 1-minute offense with 5 plays, and we just got hot and made it work. But we have prepared this thing since the bowl game to work, and he wanted to see it work. Still, after you get through the game, you still don't have an identity, because the other night was so easy. Everybody got to play, and everybody got the ball. End of the game, Jalen Overstreet gets 90-something yards. Jonathan Bergeron gets what he wants. I mean, it was one of those happy nights where everybody leaves happy. Saturday, we're going to have an identity. We'll know more who we are, and we won't be able to have the wasted plays that we had the other night.
Mack, I know you touched on it when you got here, but just with Curtis, so many people today have talked about his dynamic personality.
Yeah, I haven't told the kids. I'm going to tell them after practice. I'm sure they've heard it or read it with modern day technology. But this guy was upbeat. He was positive. He was an athlete in academics, which is so cool. He played in the Ivy League. He's just a wonderful human being and a real loss for all of us. And in fact, West Virginia wanted him so badly to run their whole program. And his wife was in compliance or is in compliance at West Virginia, and it is a huge loss for people in general, but for sports and kids. And he worked with our offensive line, so when we talk to those kids today, they're going to be really affected. And you don't want to ever see anybody go, but in our lives, 40-year-olds aren't supposed to go, and that's a very difficult call. I could tell when Arthur walked in to tell me this morning that it was something really bad. Anything else?
Mac, did any of the backups play really, really well that maybe earn a considerable more playing time?
I thought the way we played them is the way we will play them Saturday night. They all, just about everybody on the team, too deep, graded a win performance Saturday night, which is the first time that's ever happened. And I did think there was very little drop-off when we put the other guys in the game. Even in the first half, you didn't notice it. And that's who you want to be as a team, because that constitutes what a team stands for. So I think the big question, Kirk, will be Sunday morning when we're watching this video, will we say the same thing? Because it's going to be a better player they're playing against.
Do you think Desmond will be capable of playing more snaps?
I think so. We've had one practice since the game, so Stacy keeps working with him every day to try to get him more ready.